volume of fraud worldwide. Unfortunately, that information has not been managed well. In any population, you're going to have about 1% of them being criminally minded. But what has happened is that other environment has a way of measuring who those 1% are. They have statistics to prove that, look, it's less than 1% of the people that are criminal. The amount of fraud in US, in Russia, in India, in Pakistan, in UK, even in Japan, compared to what is happening in Nigeria, you call Nigerians saints.
Fraudsters would always move where money is. Once upon a time, people used to carry cash, and armed robbers used to waylay people, and banks were broken into and all sorts of things. That has reduced significantly. That means fraudsters now have to move to the electronic space. Having said that, the beauty of the electronic space is that it's easier to prevent fraud, it's easier to also catch the fraudsters and prevent them from using the same method they used the last time. Once fraudsters know that they can be easily traced, then they will think twice.
A lot of people hype security issues, sometimes to the point of exaggerating, okay? And I say this with deep sense of humility. If I recall, as far back as 2009, 2010, this market saw huge fraud in electronic channels, especially ATMs or point of sale. And this was basically because of the magnetic stripe cards that were used at that point in time. But today we are far from that. We've all moved to Nigeria is a 100% chip and pin market, EMV market. We've seen fraud drop. I mean, when we track frauds on ATMs, point of sale, it's all less than the limits expected internationally. So I think on that axis, Nigeria has done very well. Where we continue to have challenges, and which is an area where we need to really focus on, is what I call fraud based on social engineering, where somebody calls you, pretends to be someone else, and tries to get your details. That is a big issue, but that one is not a technology-related issue. It is more around educating our people to be conscious.
I must tell you that it is very difficult, if not impossible, to totally eliminate e-fraud. The reason is that part of the things that leads to fraud is gullibility on the part of account holders. So what we are going to address that is to do education. You must have been seeing our adverts in the newspapers and even radio jingles. For example, on those who send text messages that, oh, this is CBN help desk, your BVN was not properly configured, so we have stopped the usage of your card. If you want to continue to use your card, call us. We have been running adverts on that because some people will think that information is actually coming from central bank. They fall for it and then they call, and when you call, they will be asking you for your card details, and what they use that for is to commit fraud. So we are doing education, sensitization to ensure that people are educated so that they avoid the fraudsters.
It is in line with this that the Committee of E-Banking Industry Heads was formed in 2008 by a group of 3 bankers, Uchenna Okudu, Ronke Kuye, Wumi Ogumbi, to further deepen and sustain the growth and development of Nigeria's electronic payment industry for accelerated national development.
Electronic banking was just coming up in the country, and there was need for recognition. There was need for banks to speak with one voice. We needed a forum where heads of departments of CeBIH could come together and share ideas without necessarily competing with each other. And as at that time, you had organizations like heads of treasury, heads of branch operations, heads of risk management. So if CeBIH had There was need for CeBIH to have a face. There was need for heads of electronic banks in the banks be recognized. That was the idea behind the formation of CeBIH.
The vision of CeBIH is primarily to drive and promote the adoption of electronic products and services in the industry as a whole.
So when there are policy decisions that will affect payment, central bank should always liaise with Committee of E-Banking heads so that they can tell you exactly what it is, and on the basis of this, we can also relate to the general public to educate them on what to expect.
Well, there is no industry stakeholder or group of stakeholders that is better placed than CeBIH to shape the payment landscape in Nigeria. That is because, first and foremost, CeBIH, as a committee of e-banking heads in banks, is a service provider to their own customers. It's also client to payment service providers. So they're able to see the pains from both ends.
The Committee of E-Banking Industry Heads was formed to achieve the following aims. 1. To cooperate and exchange ideas necessary for the growth of e-business in their respective banks. 2. To have a pressure group responsible for liaising with other industry stakeholders. 3. Charting the course for the growth and development of e-banking in Nigeria.
Our role, by the way, at CeBIH is purely advocacy, right? We don't put up a quarrel, but we sit down and we make people see, the reason why something must be done. We had to show CeBIH in an empirical manner that the removal of that 100 naira acquiring fee, right, has further grown cash in the society, contrary to the policies of cashless that CeBIH was trying to, advocate or bring up.
We knew that e-payment was essential, and we were working towards its acceptance. So when we found out that within the banks and our MDs it wasn't forthcoming, so we used CeBIH as a pressure group to work with CBN and achieve what we wanted.
CeBIH comprises of all of the banks in the industry, heads of e-business, head of cards of all of different banks in the industry. So in doing that, we compete among ourselves. But when we come to that umbrella of CeBIH, we leave our competitive minds apart and we collaborate to ensure that ultimately in the industry wins and not just our individual selves.
As technology disruption continues to transform the world's economy, how prepared is the Nigerian banking industry?
There's an end in mind when you're talking about disruption. The method is only one of them. So what we're doing today is we're trying to see how we can standardize the USSD codes for financial transactions at a price that is acceptable and agreeable to this kind of people. USSD technology is not new. Banks have been using it, telcos have been driving it. It is the way you put it together. So it's something that already exists. But how do you put a process around it that is more effective?
I see it as positive technology, a situation in which from the convenience of your home, your office, on the road, you can transact business. That improves the velocity of money within the economy, which is something very good for the growth of our nation, especially at a time such as this.
As the Committee for E-Banking Industry Heads and key players in the financial landscape gather at the 2016 retreat, here is a word of advice from stakeholders.
That organization has been God's blessing to us. We've had interactions with them. I can see we've met the current leadership. I can see the passion, the zeal to get things done. And the points you're asking about are issues they actually talked to me about when they came to visit, how keen they are to work with the regulator. So I like the fact that they see the regulator as partners. I think one is that if they're able to get the confidence of the regulator as yet another association or body that can work with the central bank to improve things, I think that would be very good. So they must keep on that. 2, they should learn to speak up, be proactive. When issues are brewing in the industry, they shouldn't wait to react. They should be proactive in going to the regulator. Say, these are the issues we have. We'd like to discuss the issues with you. Get your views. These are recommendations, stuff like that. So I think that's very important.
Electronic payments is not about banking. It's about economic development. It's bigger than just banking. And if CeBIH is seen as representing the banks, remember that if you go out there and you talk about what do the banks want, first thing on your mind is they want to make as much money as possible. So sometimes if CeBIH is seen as representing the banks, whatever you are hearing, not what they are saying, may be tainted by the messengers they are perceived to be. So I think CeBIH is put together because they are working in banks. The agenda has to be bigger than electronic payments, electronic commerce for the banks. They need to build an agenda where it's seen like our interest is in Nigeria, but the platform we have today is the platform of the banks.
CeBIH, of course, can. They are on the front burner. They are the users. They are the guys in the trenches. So they understand where the pains are. They understand where the challenges are. So it is in their best interest to actually ensure that they work closely with regulators, with policymakers, to put policies, because they know what is happening. They are the ones running the system. So policymakers actually be looking at them to proper solution, proper ideas, so indeed they have a big role to play.
CeBIH has done well with advocacy. CeBIH meets regularly with the regulators. We need to keep engaging them. We can't do enough. We need to keep engaging them. And we also need to expose them, to international best practices. And that was why I said earlier that maybe what we need to do is expose them to trainings on what is happening outside Nigeria, especially in more developed economy, payment-wise.
And as committee of business heads, it's not just about being in the bank, it's about how do we impact on the larger society. And the only way we can impact on the larger society is for the government, to ensure that professionals are also part of what they do, so that we can bring in transparency, we can bring the ease of doing business.
They've done very well, I must say. However, they need to do more. One, the first thing I want to say is physician, heal thyself. CeBIH, be careful. Your job may be off before you know it. The same technology you are pushing can get you out of business.
The following are the 19 commercial bank members of e-banking industry heads: Access Bank, City Bank, Diamond Bank, Echo Bank, Fidelity Bank, First Bank, FCMB, GT Bank, Heritage Bank, Keystone Bank, Sky Bank, Stanbic IBTC Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, Sterling Bank, Union Bank, UBA, Wema Bank, Unity Bank, and Zenith Bank.